Hey, what's up everybody? It's Randy. Thanks for joining me today on the Black Orchid Project. Hope you guys are all doing well. On today's video, I am going to continue along with the repotting series just to make sure that no matter what your repotting needs are, there is a video in this series for you. Today I'm going to be focusing on pots with holes in them, like this mesh pot and this Decor pot. Sometimes if you want to use bark, it can be a little tricky to get your plant in these pots and secure and to make sure that the bark stays. So that is what we're going to be focusing on today. So let's get at it. All right, so if you are new here, welcome. And if you are already a member of the T-Bops, that's the Black Orchid Project Squad, welcome back. If you haven't done so, go on and hit that subscribe button and ring the bell to be notified of new content. As I mentioned in the intro, we are going to be working with pots with holes in them today. If you are in need of a video and this doesn't fit your needs today, be sure to check out the playlist. I'm sure you will find a video there that will fit your needs and get you through the project at hand right now. There's a few things you're going to want to make sure you have on hand for this project. Obviously a plant, a pot, some large pieces of bark, pebbles, marbles, some non-biodegradable styrofoam, anything you can put in the bottom of the pot to ensure that you have good drainage. You're also going to want to have some sphagnum moss and obviously some good bark medium to plant your plant in. Now, if you are using a big pot, let's just say you have one of the bigger plants and you have larger bark, you can use the large bark. It will be big enough and your roots and everything will be secure enough that you can pot directly into a big pot like this, or let's just say a pot like this. If you want, you can use larger size bark and plant directly in here. However, if you have a smaller pot, if you use larger bark, you're probably not going to get enough in here to really secure your plant. So you would just want to use the larger bark at the bottom. Now, if you're going to use obviously a smaller bark in here so it will create a little more structure and strength to hold your roots, if you put it in here with nothing, it's going to fall out. So what we're going to do is actually take some of your sphagnum moss and we are going to line it around the outside to make sure that your small pieces of bark stay in. So let's get to the demonstration. So the first thing I'm going to do is clean away all the old sphagnum moss. Next, I am going to clip away all the old dead roots. The bad ones will feel a lot like dried paper. Next, I am going to trim down some of the longer roots, focusing on where there's little breaks. You'll see a lot of little breaks in the roots, and I try to pick some of the roots that have dead ends. Next, I'm going to fit the plant into the pot to make sure that the root ball will fit in comfortably along with the crown of the plant. Now I'm going to add some of the larger pieces of bark to the bottom of the cup to ensure that I have good drainage. Now I'm going to take some of the hydrated sphagnum moss. This moss has been soaking for about 30 minutes in water, and I'm going to take really thin layers and press it right up against the edge of the cup, creating like a barrier to make sure that the bark or the finer bark doesn't fall out. You want this layer to be really thin and you want to press it in really good. You'll see here in just a second, I'm going to take my thumbs and just really press it in place. You can almost see the sphagnum moss being pushed out through the holes. Next, I'm going to take my plant and place the roots in first and gently place the plant inside the pot. Next, I'm going to use my chopstick to spread the roots around the pot and make sure they're not too crowded so I can guarantee that they grow kind of in the direction that I want them to, and so they'll grow out of the pot. Next, I'm going to center the plant and start adding the finer bark. I'm just going to add a little bit at a time and then take my chopstick and work it down in between the roots very carefully. As you can see, like I said, I'm really taking little small bits at a time and just working it down with the chopstick in between the roots. Finally, I'm going to top it off and start pressing it down to make sure it's nice and compact, to make sure that the plant itself is secure in the pot. This net pot has a really cool saucer that sits up under it. It keeps it elevated above the water level so you can put water in, and that way it works as a humidity tray or a drainage runoff. Now, since I decided to keep the spikes on this plant, I'm going to put the spike supports back in and get them tied off. You don't want to jam those down too hard. Just kind of navigate them. You can feel the roots as you're pushing them through and just work around the roots, or kind of push the roots out the way as you push down. Now I'm going to show you the inside of this decorative pot. I've had this in here for quite a while. This is a little bit thicker than it needs to be. Like I said, you want a real thin layer. The reason this is like this is because I use this with a plastic liner in the inside. You can see how that used to fit in there. But if you're going to use it just by itself without a liner, you want to make that a lot thinner, or just use all sphagnum moss. As you can see, we got it replanted in this really cool pot. It's nice and secure. The sphagnum moss is on the outside. One advantage to this is that it will turn light beige and get crunchy, and it makes for a good indicator when it's time to water the pot. The bark is nice and secure, and the inside won't fall out and expose those roots and things like that. So this is, very secure and just a great way to repot a plant in a pot with holes in it. Now, one of the cool things is the roots will come out at some point, so you will get a root display here. In this particular humidity tray, will release humidity, so the roots stay nicely hydrated. So I think this is going to make for a really, really, really cool display once this plant blooms. I'm sorry. Now the thing about this is, I won't get a chance to see it because I will be giving this plant away to one of my Patreons. So if you haven't done so, head on over to patreon.com, look up the Black Orchid Project, or the description, or the link is down in the description, and become a Patreon and a supporter of the Black Orchid Project. If you got something from this video, go on and just hit the thumbs up. If nothing else, leave a comment and let me know what you think. Let me know if you do it a little bit different, or if you have some different ideas or things like that. Also, head on over to the Instagram page. That's where you can send me pictures if you need to ask questions, and just follow along as I post updates and pictures of my plants and things like that. So that is going to do it for me on this particular video. As always, be safe. More importantly, be kind. Never give up on them. And until next time, peace.